back here.
His mic going.
You be able to hang in there? All right. Okay. We got 2 more chapters. We'll get those obviously done quickly, probably before lunch. Maybe after lunch we'll do the test and be done with this block that we're doing here. See why not?
And tomorrow we're
Unless you want to do it in the morning, but we're going to have to move on to something else because I'm not going to waste a half a day. So we move on to the next chapters. Take it tomorrow, we can take it today. Give me plenty of time to study for it, I'm sure. And you should already know pretty much what you need to know. What happened here?
75.
Tomorrow, aren't we working on, Terrence's spark plug? Is it revision, right? No spark plug?
No, it's
Ron. Ron's spark plug?
Yeah, we'll do some stuff tomorrow. Yeah, outside. Sure. And probably some stuff in here, testing, sensors and maybe stuff like that, if I can find the stuff I need. Okay, well, position sensors, how do they work? How do they work?
They
Send the signals to the TCN?
they decide how much it should open and close, or when to open and close.
No, you decide that by how far you put your foot on the throttle.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the sensor tells the PCM how far you got your foot down on the gas pedal based on the voltage from that sensor. Okay, that's how it knows, right? The sensor is the input, right? Input from your foot, from your right foot. However far you push that accelerator pedal down, this voltage is going to change. And this is the range right here. If you don't touch the throttle, it's about a half a volt. If you have your foot buried in it, wide open throttle, fast as you can go, about 4.5. Not quite 5. You might see a little more than that, but that's the range.
Oh, okay, so normal throttle position goes from most vehicles is about 0.5 volt at idle
Yes,
and 4.5 at wide open throttle.
right. So, here's your throttle plate, right? This is what moves when you move your foot on the accelerator pedal, right? This would be about a half a volt, okay? Just not doing anything. This is wide open throttle, obviously, right? That would be about 4.5. Anything in between would be just a varying voltage in between, right? Right? Right. Okay. Same tools, multimeter, scan tool to diagnose it. It's a variable resistor potentiometer. How many wires does the throttle position sensor have?
Right.
Okay. Now, just so you know, this is for an electronic throttle control engine. And you know that how? How do you know this is off an electronic throttle control engine?
This side. Yeah.
By this?
Yeah.
Because there's no place to put a cable on it, right? It's just got an electrical connector. So this is electronic throttle control, no cable, right? Which means it doesn't have a separate throttle position sensor. It's all in here. okay? So this is gonna have 6 or 7 wires. So don't look at this and go, well, how come it's got 7 wires and you said it's got 3? Well, because this operates the motor as well. Now, if it has a cable and a throttle position sensor, it's just gonna have 3 wires, okay?
Now, what vehicles, because I know it's a thing between the older models and newer models,
Mhm.
this type and that type.
Mhm.
So would 3 wires be more common on an older vehicle?
It's gonna be 3-wire if it has a cable, and that's the
And that's
bottom
it.
line,
It
yep.
doesn't matter.
If it's not electronic throttle, it's got 3 wires. It's a potentiometer variable resistor. It still has one of these in there. It's just a combination of that and the others that control the motor that opens and closes the throttle.
Okay, now let me ask you this question. Now that a lot of vehicles are hybrid now, or electric, will we see the more common 7, like the electronic one?
Okay, so a hybrid vehicle is simply a vehicle with 2 propulsion systems.
Right.
It has a normal gasoline-powered engine, works just like every other one, okay? It's also got an electric motor. It may run on one or the other, or a combination of the 2. An EV has no throttle at all. There is no throttle plate, there is nothing, it's just an electric motor. So when you put your foot on the gas, all it does is change the input to the voltage that that motor gets. So it's just like turning up and down the volume on your radio or something, okay? Okay, 3 wires. It's going to have a reference wire. That reference wire is going to have 5 volts on it. It's going to have a return signal. That means where is the throttle? This could be anywhere from 0 to 5 to 4.5, or 0.5 to 4.5. Okay? And then the ground wire. This is an older style that's just going to have the throttle position sensor. If you look, there's 3 terminals here. There's no plug in here, obviously, but it would have 3 wires on it, right? This one is cable operated. You can't see it over there, but this has just a normal cable. Before electronic throttle control came out. Example of what it looks like. Signal wire. This is the one that's going to give the PCM the information on where your foot is on the accelerator. What does this say? 0.5 volts? That means it's idling. That means you haven't gone anywhere. You're sitting still, right? This is you trying to race your buddy. Wide open throttle, right? What's the signal voltage? About 4.5. And if it's right about here, it's going to be about 2.5, right? Somewhere between that 0 and 5. That's how the PCM knows what pressure you have on that gas pedal, okay? Okay. What's the purpose of each of the wires? Typical 3-wire, throttle position sensor.
One end,
Voltage signal wire, ground wire, no reference.
Signal wire, reference wire, ground wire, right?
yeah, one receives the voltage. And
Reference wire gets the voltage from the PCM, 5 volts. Signal wire, that's the return that tells it how far you've pushed on the throttle. Ground, gotta have a ground, every circuit has to have a ground, right? Okay. Oh. Okay. The computer will sense any change in the throttle position, and it will change the fuel mixture and the ignition timing based on where you put your foot. Throttle position sensor signals a PCM to add additional fuel injector pulse when the throttle is depressed. If it doesn't, car's not gonna go when you push the gas, right? When you push on the gas, it needs more gas, right? That's why it's called a gas pedal. The more you push on it, the more gas the engine gets, right? More air it takes in, the more fuel it needs. Okay? Okay. These are some of the things it uses that sensor for. What is number one?
Clear flood.
Clear
mode.
flood, what is that? Any of you heard of clear flood mode?
The throttle is depressed of the floor during engine cranking, the PCM either greatly reduces or entirely eliminates any fuel injector pulses to aid in cleaning a flooded engine.
Okay. Back in the day, when carburetors were, all cars had on, they had their problems, okay? They weren't perfect. Sometimes the engine would get too much fuel because the carburetor had a malfunction or something got in between the needle and seat that would shut the fuel off, keep it from getting too much fuel in there. Kind of works like your toilet, right? When you flush it and the bowl fills up and then that float rises and then it stops the water flow, right? Sometimes there'd be a malfunction and it would just keep going, right? They would, what they do, that they call that flooded engine, meaning it has too much gas. It won't run then, right? So, if you had an old carbureted car and you had a problem with the carburetor and it was flooding over, you would put your foot all the way to the floor and crank the engine, and it would start. Because now you're giving it maximum airflow by opening the throttle all the way to compensate for all of the fuel. So you're trying to start it at wide open throttle. As soon as it starts, you better let off of it, right? Otherwise the engine's gonna rev to the moon, right? They kept that term for fuel injection. Sometimes fuel injected cars have problems like that too, okay? If for some reason the engine gets flooded, you can put your foot all the way to the floor and crank the engine and it won't start. Shuts the fuel injectors off, okay? That is the purpose of that. It needs it for the torque converter clutch engagement and release, rationality test for the MAP and mass airflow, because I told you the sensors compare their signals with each other. Is it plausible or rational that this one should read this if this one's reading this? Okay? Shift point street transmission, idle speed, air conditioning compressor operation. If you're driving down the road with your air conditioner on and you put your foot all the way to the floor, you stomp it to the floor, the air conditioning compressor shuts off. Okay, we talked about that in the HVAC lesson. It also backs up other sensors. Scan tool can be used to check it, and a digital voltmeter scan tool is recommended. You can also use an oscilloscope. That's common with all of the sensors. That's just doing a back probe on it. Again, you could do that with a coolant sensor or any of the others, but normally the scan tool is all you need. Typical waveform. If you were looking at it on a scope, okay, voltage, time, open throttle, back to idle, all right? Just again, scope is just showing voltage as a graphic, a representation rather than a number. Power and ground check before condemning a sensor. Always check, make sure you got the proper reference voltage on the ground to the sensor before you say that sensor is bad, okay? And there is a check of the reference voltage on this. Would that be good if you were checking the reference voltage on your throttle position sensor?
If it was at idle.
No, it's
No, you're checking the
0.5.
reference voltage.
it's 5
That's fine.
5 volts.
5 volts,
That would be
yeah.
good, right? Okay. Key on, engine off. Stuck 5 volts. Now, just so you're not confused here, this is not, you're not measuring the signal wire, otherwise it would be 0.5. It's 5 volts because you're measuring the reference wire. is it getting the 5 volts that it needs in order to operate?
Yeah.
Okay? Remember at the beginning of the class when I told you it's not gonna get any easier?
Yeah.
I wasn't kidding, was I?
Right.
No, but I see what the book does, it encompasses like certain things, and then later on it breaks it down.
Mm-hmm.
So what we've been doing is to break it down more internal
Mhm.
components instead of just of it as a whole.
Question: why did we go like? How come we just didn't start from the beginning and just go through it? Why do we have to jump from this chapter to the other?
Because it's better for you to understand, and it's better for the sequence of the ASE tests, because we go from A1 to A8, which A8 is gonna be the last one we do. So, the order that you do this has a little bit of structure to it, and that makes a little bit more sense maybe to me than it does to you. But there's certain things that you should learn before others, and honestly, this, electrical electronics probably should come earlier, but this is the way it's set up, so.
Alright.
Yeah, but we don't start at the beginning and, you know, it's like you're familiar with the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Do you have to start at the beginning and read to the end? You can open it anywhere and read, right?
Yeah.
If you're brand new.
Well,
yeah.
scripture's like that.
Yeah.
You can open it anywhere and start reading.
Yeah.
And get a good lesson out of it, right?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, it's structured from start to finish,
But you don't-
chronologically, right? Old Testament, New Testament, all that stuff. It
Yeah.
is, but you don't have to start at the beginning and go to the end. This is kind of the same way. The information's all here. Is it in any really particular order? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Checking the voltage drop between the throttle position sensor and good ground. This is nothing new. This is just a voltage drop test. Does the sensor have a good ground? Well, put your meter on DC volts, put one lead on the ground and one on the ground wire to the sensor. Oh, we got 200 millivolts on that ground. It's good. So you check the reference voltage. It was good. It had 5 volts to it. You check the ground. It was good. So the sensor is bad at that point. So you could use this meter. We haven't done this, but it has a button that says minimum, maximum. This guy right here. So let's say you had this hooked up to your throttle position sensor, and you hit this minimum, maximum button, and then you ran it from idle to wide open throttle. It would record those voltages, and it would give you the highest it saw and the lowest it saw. It would record those numbers if you hit that button. Okay? That's what this is telling you. Key on, engine off. Yes, we know this already, right? We're going to go through a thing called an idle air control valve at some point in this. With the introduction of the electronic throttle control, what else did it get rid of? The idle air control valve no longer has one. Okay? The idle is controlled by moving the throttle plate. Older ones, cable, they're going to have an actual idle air control valve. Only one more to go. You always get the color picture. He's going to get it this time. Okay, how you doing back here? I know everybody's not doing too good. You all right there? You be able to hang in? All right. Our new machine is all loaded and ready to go.
Oh, they finished loading it?
Yeah, guy just got done programming.
Oh, he did?
Yep. So, I haven't tried it out, but apparently it's good to go.
I saw it this morning and there was just like one row of water and one row of candy.
Yeah, he just started. It's all full now. The drinks probably aren't cold yet, but. Okay. Okay, how's it going? How are you doing? Are you just getting started? We'll do the last chapter after lunch. Okay, we ready?
Yeah.
Everybody ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Technician A says that TP sensor signals voltage should be about 0.5 at idle and increase to about 2.5 at wide open throttle. No, it should be 4.5. Technician B says ATP sensor can be tested using DMM, DSO, or a scan tool. Who's right? Technician B only.
B.
B only, because what should it be, a wide open throttle?
4.5.
How about 4.5? Yeah, not 2.5, yeah. All right.
Number 2, a TP sensor is what type of sensor? C. Potentiometer.
Correct. Number 3. You can use the chart on 887 for that if you didn't.
It's the all of
Wouldn't it be B? There's no open. Short to ground. I mean, it's, I'll just read them up.
What?
Zero
Voltage.
Internally
22.
shorted to ground, nothing about voltage low. Sensor shorted to ground, sensor wiring or wiring open.
Hey.
Signal doesn't say anything about signal circuit.
TP sensor low voltage description.
Signal circuit, would it be like wording for wiring?
Where are we at? Number 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 122. This means voltage low, short to ground, signal circuit speed. Oh, okay. 122. Yeah, any of those could be right. Okay. Should have got D for 3.
Okay.
All right. Open at one point during the test. That is right.
What page was that on?
Should be 887. All right. So where are we? 6 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at 10, right?
Well, the voltage can be measured in terminal C as shown, 0.5 volts.
You're right? That's right.
Half a volt, yep, okay.
Purple flex will be released when any movement of the TV sensor is detected false.
Correct. Not any movement. Certain movements it will. Garbage sensor has how many wires? 3. Okay, take number 8 there, girl, with your hand up.
I actually have a question for number 4.
What was 5?
4
6 and
This is false.
says that check the minimum and maximum voltage reading on the meter display. Any 0 or 5 volt reading indicates a fault or short TP sensor. So number 4 should be, like, I don't understand how you got A.
Okay, on number 4.
It says after a TP sensor has been tested using the min-max function on the DMM, a reading of 0 volts is displayed. What does the reading indicate? Well, on page 887, under testing a TP sensor using the min-max function, on step 3, it says check the minimum and maximum voltage reading on the meter display. Any 0 or 5 volt reading indicates a fault or short in the TP sensor.
Okay? What'd it say? It said a fault
Or short.
or short.
Not an open.
A fault could mean an open.
Well, B says TP sensor is shorted, and C says TP sensor signal is shorted to 5 volt reference.
If it was shorted to 5 volt reference, then it would just read 5 volts all the time.
Okay.
So the minimum maximum function, what it's doing is recording the highest and lowest it saw, the minimum voltage it saw, and the maximum voltage it saw during the test when you sweep the throttle. When you
Right.
opened it all the way up and closed it all the way,
Right.
okay? At one point in the test, the sensor had an open in it, the voltage just dropped to 0.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Number 8 is
All
which
right,
wire
eight.
on the typical
We're on 7.
Oh,
Are we on 7?
We did that.
Oh, we did that,
We're
3,
on.
right? Everybody knows that, hopefully.
We're on 9.
No, 8.
8.
Which wire on a typical TP sensor should be back probed to check the voltage signal to the PCM signal wire?
Okay, number 9.
After a TP sensor has been tested using the minimum/maximum function on a DMM, a reading of 5 volts is displayed. What does the reading indicate? Didn't we do this? Oh, it's a different. It's worded different.
It's different. Both of those are possible, B or C. Sensor shorted, or the signal is shorted to 5 volt reference.
Number 10 is
And it's B, of course. Okay.
what was 8?
B. All right, we did question number 1, right? We did question number 2. Third terminal. This is a question that you might want to pay attention to. What's the answer to this?
Signal?
Third terminal attached to a movable contact that slides across
Oh.
the resistor to vary the signal voltage. Yes. This one also you might want to remember. What is it?
Idle 0.5.
We're up 10% of WOT voltage, okay? We did this. Easy question. Question number 6. What is question number 6?
Both.
Negative. It is not A.
B's right.
Ground wire does not go to the engine block on this particular sensor. B. TP sensor used to determine torque number engagement transmission shift points. Yes, it does do that. 7 we should know, right? No, it doesn't. Not with any movement. We did that one. This sensor affects the operation of all of these except for one of them.
Air conditioning compressor.
No, remember I said it will cut the air conditioning compressor off
Oh,
if
yeah.
you hit wide open throttle with the air conditioner on. Which
So
one
A?
of these
A?
does the throttle assist sensor not affect?
Hmm. I forgot what clear flood mode is.
Yesterday, if we floor the AC on the compressor will turn off.
It'll
Yep.
turn off, yeah.
So that means if I was doing the full power of its engine, or it's not.
Two reasons. One is, yeah, you don't have to load the compressor anymore because it releases the clutch on it. And it doesn't overrun the compressor speed-wise because your engine revving high, right? Two reasons, but yeah, that's one of them. What do you think about this one?
I forgot what clear flood mode is.
You forgot what clear flood mode was.
Isn't that the one where there's too much gas in the carburetor, you gotta put your foot down to the.
Yeah, we're same way with fuel injection. If your car has that option, which a lot of them do, you could go out and get in your car, before you start it, push your foot all the way to the gas pedal, all the way to the floor, and go to start the engine, and it won't start. It won't start until you let your foot off of the gas. I don't recommend trying that unless you know for a fact your car has clear flood.
Air conditioning?
What, she's.
Mm-mm.
No.
We know it controls this. We know it controls this. We know it controls this. It can't correct for rich and fuel lean mixtures,
Oh.
right? You can't do any correction. It's just a sensor that tells you how far the throttle's over, right?
Yep.
Cannot do this. All right. All right, all right, all right. Gonna do 6 quick questions on this, and then we'll break for lunch. Yeah, we can't pull the scan tool into him and check the codes and fix them, huh?
Might be that they're using them.
Should be able to get through these pretty quick. Let's- Okay, all done? Should be. Okay. Since we got one guy that's not feeling too good, there's only 6 questions and 6 of us left that are gonna answer, so let's go. We'll start with you in the back there, girl.
What is the function of the TP sensor in an engine? A,
Hey,
How many wires does TP sensor have? 3?
okay,
Okay,
Charles, take 3 for us.
what is the other function does a TV sensor have beside adjusting the core and make sure any ignition timing? It's D.
Okay, clear flood, torque converter, release the automatic transmission.
This tool can be used to test a TP sensor. A.
Pencil, eraser, or ruler is the wrong answer, yes, it's
Oh,
Number 5. What should the TP sensor voltage be at idle and at WOT be 0.5 volts?
There you go. And last one.
Marking codes the skewed or out of range sensor output and a TP sensor, poor ground.
Bad ground, yep. Give me a bad reading. Okay. You all have for lunch? 1 chapter left.